Hello everyone, I'm Steffi, a final year sports, physical education and coaching science student. Today I'm joined by Dr. Victoria Goodyear, who is a senior lecturer in the pedagogy of sport, physical activity and health at the University of Birmingham. A recent project she is leading examines the impact of social media on health behaviours during the COVID-19 lockdown period. Welcome Victoria, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's actually lovely to be able to talk to one of our students again.
Yeah, me too. So let's get started. How have you been coping with the lockdown period?
Well, I suppose similar to everybody really. Been missing friends and family. The challenges of working from home, different various things. So my dog tends to bark whenever I'm on a Zoom call, so I'm hoping that that's not going to happen today. And yeah, so I mean, the challenges of lockdown really, I mean, one thing that perhaps I've been doing is lots of exercise, going for different runs, walks, discovering new places. Downside is perhaps eating too much chocolate, and now we're on a chocolate detox. But I think that's perhaps similar to some other people that are coping during the lockdown period at the moment.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. So what are you most looking forward to when we get back onto campus?
Well, one of the things is the interaction with both staff and students. I think our campus is really good for that. You know, obviously there is the academic side, but there is obviously the social aspect, talking with different staff from different departments and within the School of Sport, Exercise and Rehabilitation Sciences. And it's just really good to have conversations with different people, and thinking about the students as well. I mean, it's nice talking to you like this via Zoom, and we've spoken to our students via Zoom, but it's not necessarily the same as face-to-face. Different dissertation meetings, and I think it's you know, I love teaching and I love our campus for teaching and different aspects like that, but it's also, you know, the 5 minutes before you start your lecture, you have a discussion with everybody about how they're doing and how they're feeling about just general things in life, and that's the bits you kind of miss. So the moving around our campus and enjoying just being around different staff and our students, I suppose, is the main thing that I'm looking forward to going back to.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think a lot of people are missing that face-to-face interaction. So your research focuses on social media and young people's health and well-being, and COVID-19 has obviously had a huge impact on all areas of health. In that sense, what do you think COVID-19 has taught us about social media and health?
Well, I think it's been quite interesting actually, because, you know, pre-COVID-19, and not to say that things haven't changed, but pre-COVID-19, most of the things you heard about social media was all about risk and all about the negative impacts. And then during COVID-19, I think there's been a little bit of a more understanding around some of the positive impacts that social media can have. And thinking about things like isolation and me wanting to go back to campus to see staff and students and things. Social media is a huge communication tool. And I think what we're beginning to see is it can be used for social and emotional support. And we know that that has big impacts on physical activity. Now, we've got a study running at the moment looking at the role of social media in physical activity and in diet, and also in quality of life and pain. And we're looking at not only young people, so the typical groups that I work with are age teenagers, so 13 to 15. We're also looking at all the way up to older adults and how they're using social media. And what's really been quite interesting is that the teenagers are showing very similar behaviours to the older adults. And that's in terms of their changes in physical activity, but also the different things that they're looking at, the content that they're looking at on social media. What we've seen is lots of uses of YouTube workouts, lots of uses of recipes, you know, the challenges, so run 5, give 5, couch to 5K. And what we knew from our previous research before COVID-19 on social media was we knew a lot about micro celebrities and how they influence different exercise behaviours, different attitudes, different knowledges, different understandings about physical activity. But we're seeing that more and more come to light. So you're probably aware of Joe Wicks and PE with Joe, but not just that aspect, different TV chefs, different promoters of physical activity and diet on social media are really starting to have an influence. And you could say, well, why are they having an influence perhaps more than, you know, official organisations or government or things like that? It's because they're offering a more personalised approach and a more, you know, sociable and supportive approach. And that's what we're going to see having a big impact in digital online. It's becoming quite useful. So I think one thing we're thinking about going forwards then is that when we're using social media now, we need to be helping people to be critical users and generators, and not just young people, adults as well. So what you need to do is you need to think, why am I using social media? Is this content good for me? But also thinking, okay, I need to be continuing evaluating whether that's good for me, whether I'm using that content from social media, if it's good for me, if it's good for my family, if it's good for my friends, and evaluating that over time. And if you're thinking, okay, I need to do something else, I need to change that. Well, why? Why is that? So being really, really open to those sort of things. And then in terms of, you know, my passion, my research is all about young people and supporting and understanding their health and well-being. You know, something for us to consider is, you know, when the schools do go back, they might not go back fully for a while, but when they do go back, do we need to be doing something different in relation to physical activity and physical education? Should it be the same or should it change? And, you know, I'm personally looking forward to having those discussions with the students on the sport, physical education and coaching course when they return, and thinking about, okay, what if we could design anything for PE, what would it be? And what would it look like? And what impacts do we want to have?
Okay, great. That's so interesting. Going on to the next question. Are there any positive impacts you see the COVID-19 pandemic having on social media in relation to health?
Yeah, I mean, I think the positive impacts are that, you know, it's being used as a health-related learning resource. So you can go onto social media, you can access information on different workouts, different diets, different exercises, and you can go and use that. And I think one of the key advantages is that you can do it in a very sociable format. So you can do it with your friends, you can do it with your family members, and you know, the challenges that I mentioned before, you can do challenges together, and, you know, it's bringing in the home and the family together to engage in physical activity and to engage with health-related behaviours.
Great. So finally, what inspired you to get into this area of research?
Well, I suppose initially it was that we know that young people spend a significant amount of time on social media, and we know that there are risks, and we know that there are negative associations with that use. But given the amount of time that young people spend on social media, there must be something positive going on there. So if we can use those same hooks that hook young people to social media and the hooks that make them engage in certain forms of content, then we could use those hooks to promote health behaviours. We could use them to design how we can teach in schools. We can use them to create digital campaigns in digital formats. So it's really understanding, not just taking a risk or negative approach, but really coming from young people's perspectives about how they use technology, and trying to help design positive experiences for them. But the other passion was that, you know, there are very big gaps in the ways in which adults and young people view social media and digital technologies, generally, not for all, but there are big gaps in the ways in which, you know, adults do tend to associate social media use with a risk, and young people tend to associate it with a positive. So technology and social media is not going away. So how can we, in that respect, how can we begin to help both sides work together and to create these shared learning environments, shared working together experiences to promote the positive uses of technology and to kind of empower young people to embrace the benefits of technology.
So do you have any advice on how I can shape my future at this stage of my university experience?
There are obviously some challenges ahead, but there also are some opportunities. And I really think that there are some really exciting opportunities brought on by the current situation and the different lockdown measures. It is teaching us a lot about physical activity engagement, health-related behaviours, and how we might change and adapt our practices to be more contemporary. In the School of Sport, Exercise and Rehabilitation Sciences, we have lots of kind of research projects running at the moment. And the COVID-19 one I spoke of involves the students within our school, and it involves then in co-creating the methods, helping us to recruit participants, helping us to, understand the data that we're generating. And, that's just one of the examples of the different opportunities that we can offer. And for getting involved in those kind of projects, you can develop research skills if you were wanting to go on to further studies, such as a master's or a PhD. But you can actually develop new knowledge and insights and have access to the latest evidence-based practice that could help you in your future career, whether that's in a school, whether that's in a physical activity space, whether that's, following on to a different kind of profession. I think there are opportunities within our school and within our university that can really help to prepare you and equip you with the latest evidence and the latest research that's going on at the moment in this current time.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. It was really interesting to hear about your research area and the impact of COVID-19.